Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to tonight's second half. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to tonight's second half, shall we? I had received an email saying Dad is #1 fan. And I was like, that's kind of interesting. So I immediately read that one first. And the gentleman that reached out to me, his name was Micah, and his dad is named James, just like my dad. And apparently James has listened to the channel for a while now, and he's disabled. He was a park ranger in the 90s. And then because of his job is physically disabled, mentally disabled too. And we'll get into that. But he listens to my channel and a couple other channels. He listens to Dark Waters. He had never heard of Dark Waters until I was talking about him, and which is crazy because James's channel is huge compared to mine. But he wanted to reach out because, well, I'll share the email and then we'll get into the experience because it is absolutely horrific. It takes place in an Idaho national park called Crater of the Moon. And there's a lot of strange things surrounding that area, including a defunct government facility. So, Jeff, my dad was a park ranger at Crater of the Moon in Idaho from 1972 to 1992. He shared this with us in 1990 when I was 24 and my sister was 20, days after the event had happened. He also had similar events, but nothing so shocking as the first on September 2nd, 1990. He listens to your channel and a few others similar to yours, but he loves two guests, Phil, the hunting guide from Idaho and Montana, and Bill from Walla Walla, Washington, the rancher. And because of these two guests, he wanted to share his experience with you. He has been in poor health since 1992. He was forced to retire due to having an aneurysm, which my sister and I believe it is because of what he saw and maybe the power around it. September 2nd, 1990, started out like every other day. He got up for work. I was just divorced, so I was still now living with my parents. With my folks at the time. This is hard for me to type out. Can you give me a call? My name is Micah, and my dad is James, just like yours. So I give Micah a call. I text him first and give him a call, letting him know, hey, this is Jeff Nadolny. Are you free? I'd like to talk with you and your dad, if possible. And no more than did I send the text is my phone ringing, and it was Micah. And he was very excited. He was sitting with his dad. He lives with his dad still. His mom has since passed, but he takes care of his dad. His dad has had 4 aneurysms since 1992. And he believes, him and his sister believe, that it is because of what he experienced at Craters of the Moon in Idaho and the surrounding facilities in that area. He also thinks that quite possibly the one facility that I'm going to mention has a heck of a lot to do with what his dad saw and what happened to his physicality and such. But I wasn't really familiar with the area, so I'm going to familiarize you guys with the surrounding area and what is there. Craters of the Moon within Idaho is in south central Idaho, midway between Boise and Yellowstone National Park. The lava field reaches southeastward from Pioneer Mountains. Combined USA Highway 20, 26, and 93 cuts through the northwestern part of the monument and provides access to it. However, the rugged landscape of the monument itself remains remote and undeveloped, with only one paved road across the northern end. So it is not like any other national parks where you can just drive through. You have to get out of your vehicle. You have to go hiking. There is over 700 cave/lava tubes that are in this area, and the majority of them are not allowed access, public access. The crater of the Moon lava field spreads 618 square miles and is the largest, mostly Holocene-aged lava field in the United States, minus Hawaii. The monument and preserve contain more than 25 volcanic cones, including outstanding examples of splatter cones. The 60 distinct lava flows from that form the craters of the Moon lava field range in ages from 15,000 to 2,000 years in age. The King's Bowl and Wapi lava fields both are about 2,200 years old and are part of the preserve. The lava field is the largest of several lava beds of lava that erupted from 53-mile southeast to northwest trending Great Rift volcanic zone, a line of weakness in the Earth's crust. Together, the fields from other fissures, they make up lava beds in Idaho, which in most turn are in the much larger Snake River Plain volcano province. The Great Rift extends across the entire Snake River Plain. Elevation is 5,910 feet above sea level. And I've got some other just basic information, but, like rain and stuff. Now, so we are dealing with I believe that caldera, I was looking at a map, that caldera could be connected to the Yellowstone caldera. It's quite possible. If you look at a map to where this is and where it extends into, it's pretty incredible. Now, the government has a really strange or puts really strange and deadly things near our national parks. And we often wonder why we have so many missing people there. Well, I really am starting to think that it's our government and what they do with experimentation and things they shouldn't. Now, roughly, there's a location, a decommissioned research reactor called EBR-1, or Experimental Breeder Reactor. Now, this map right here, EBR-1 is here. The craters of the moon is here. That is the only route to get to it via road. But, I mean, the toxins and stuff. So what is this place? Well, it's a decommissioned research reactor, the United States National Historic Landmark, located in the desert about 18 miles southeast of Arco, Idaho. It is the world's first breeder reactor. At 1:50 p.m. on December 20th, 1951, it became one of the world's first electricity-generating nuclear power plants when it produced sufficient electricity to illuminate 4 200-watt light bulbs. EBR-1 generated sufficient electricity to power its building and continued to be used for experimental purposes until it was decommissioned in 1964. The museum is open for visitors from late May up until September. He had his incident occurred in September 2nd, which is strange. I didn't put that together until just now. As a part, the National Reactor Testing Station, since 2005, Idaho National Laboratory. EBR-1's construction started in 1949. The reactor was designed and constructed by a team led by Walter Zinn at the Argonne National Laboratory, Idaho site. In its earlier stages, was referred to as Chicago Pile 4 or CP4, and Zinn's Infernal Pile. Installation of the reactor took place in 1951, and began powering in August 24th of 1951. On December 20th of that year, it produced electricity for the first time. And it talks a little bit about the how and stuff, what they did. Now, this I found interesting, is we all know that there is a lot of strange stuff happening in Tennessee, and I've talked about this. The world's first electricity produced by a nuclear reactor occurred during an experiment 3 years earlier in September of 1948 at X-10 graphite reactor at Oak Ridge National Lab in Tennessee. Later in 1955, another nuclear milestone was reached when experimental boiling water reactor plant called Borax 3 in Argonne National Laboratory was connected to external loads, powering a nearby city of Arco, which is right there. Arco is 18 miles from EBR-1, and it is one of the closest cities to craters of the moon. Now, I wanted to see exactly what this place was more about. And we talk a lot on this channel about other things. We talk about CERN, we talk about HARP, we talk just a lot. The Hadron Collider creating portals. This kind of creeped me out because how did EBR-1 work? The plutonium 239 is bombarded with high-speed neutrons. When the plutonium nucleus absorbs one such free neutron, it splits into two fission fragments. This fission releases heat as well as the neutrons, which in turn split other plutonium nuclei, freeing still more neutrons. So they are just slamming this plutonium with high-speed neutrons. Sounds pretty much similar to what they're doing at the Hadron Collider, just slamming dangerous things that humans shouldn't be playing with and creating things that we shouldn't, or not even creating, opening things that we shouldn't even be looking or messing with. Anyway, I just wanted to give you a kind of what this area is about. So now you can see there's an old volcanic activity. 2,000 years ago, some of the first settlers in this country, Native American, whatever, probably stumbled upon an active lava field. It's pretty insane. And then you've got this really dangerous nuclear reactor, breeding reactor. So now that you're familiar with the area, and Micah kind of introduced himself to me, I was able to speak with James very briefly. Like I said, he has had 4 brain aneurysms. It affects his speech quite a bit and his mobility. He does walk, but with a lot of difficulty. But what I was able to talk with him, or what I got from him, was he was a really nice guy. So September 2nd, he is on duty, and it's a normal day like any other day. There had been some scientific people in that area dealing with a lot of the bats that were using these lava tubes and caves as homes. And supposedly that's one of the big reasons why these caves are not accessible to the public right now. Now, he had probably noticed that there were almost 100 people at the monument that day total, in the sign in and out sheets. Now he started to go and do his patrols. He is approached by 2 hikers that were hiking by the North Crater, south of the Paisley Cone. And what they saw from a distance, what they told him, we saw 2 wolves, but they were acting very strange. They seemed to be upright. They almost looked like werewolves. And the lady that was man and woman, the lady said that's what they were. She goes, they were werewolves, honey. They were werewolves. They weren't wolves. James kind of says, okay, we don't really have any wolves in this area, to my knowledge, and they don't really move bipedally. I'm going to go check it out. So he starts to make his way there, and he gets to this section. He gets past the Paisley Cone, and there's some place called the Natural Bridge. He's almost by there, and there's a tunnel, a lava tube tunnel. It's pretty deep, and large in diameter. It's a large kind of, not cave, because you can go right through it. he sees these two wolves that he's looking at them from a distance, and he can see that they are now quadruped. They are not bipedal, but they are running towards this Indian tunnel, and that's the name of this lava tube. And it is accessible to the public still to this day, which is freaking scary. Now, he starts to walk that way a little bit. He is armed with, he has a Ruger Security 6, which is chambered in .357. He's making his way there, and as he gets about 50 to 75 feet away, he watches these things enter, and he's like, are they going to the other side? All of a sudden, he hears this kind of rumble, feels this rumble, hears this rumble. It was like a really loud thunder, but he could feel the ground kind of move, almost like an earthquake. And he's looking around, and he looks back in the tube, and he sees this bluish white light kind of erupt from the middle of this Indian tunnel, where these dogmen had just entered. And within a second, it's over. The light is over, the noise is over, and he looks, and they're not there. And he's like, what the hell? They were just there. I know they were just there. What the hell was that light? What the hell is that noise? Now, think about what I was just talking about with EBR1. So he's now freaked out. He's not thinking about EBR1 or any kind of government facility in the area. He's like, what the hell just happened? You know, there's been numerous UFO reports and other kind of strange anomalies in the area, but nothing like what he just witnessed. James starts to walk into this tunnel, and it's old lava, you know, just an old lava tube, desert. It's desert area. There's shrubbery and not like a forest. He walks into the tunnel, and he's looking around. He's got his flashlight with him. He's got his hand on his revolver, and he doesn't see anything. He can't see any footprints because there's not going to be, because it's lava. It's, you know, old dried lava, pretty much almost obsidian. It's jet black. So he gets to the middle. He's looking on the sides, doesn't see anything, and he gets to the other side, and he's now in the open. He's in the open air. So he's just looking around like, where the hell did these things go? Now he's got some sand and like silica or whatever it's called on the ground. He's looking for prints. He can't see any prints. There's not even human prints there. So he's like, no one had been through here. Those things didn't go through here. What the hell was that light? What the hell are those things? What was that noise that I just heard? And he's turning, looking. Probably no more than 2 to 3 minutes does that same rumbling noise occur. And then he's looking around, and he looks back into the cave, because when he heard that rumble, he knew instinctively, and what he just witnessed, look in the cave, I'm not going in there. He started to back away from the cave. Out of instinct, you know, you see 2 dogmen walk in, you hear a rumble and a bluish white light, and now they're gone, and now that rumbling's coming back. What do you think's coming out? The dogmen? That's what he's thinking. So he's backing up. As he backs up, he stops, and he starts to notice that something is coming out of that bluish white light. Within the next 30 to 45 seconds, he sees a humanoid figure walking out of that light. It is still in the middle of the Indian tunnel. He's standing in daylight, probably 30, 40 feet away from the entrance of the tunnel. And he's watching this figure another 30 feet, 40 feet. So he's a good 80 to 100 feet away from it. And he sees this human figure walk out of this bluish white light. And he's like, what the hell is going on? He's at first thought it was going to be these two dogmen that he had just seen disappear in front of him with like 10 minutes. He describes this man as wearing some kind of like almost like a loincloth. It resembled shorts, but kind of like a loincloth. He had some kind of shirt thing that was like similar to a tank top, but made out of what looked to be animal hide or leather. And at first glance, he's thinking this thing is his size. But as he's staring at it, and this thing is now staring at him, and James has his hand on his Ruger Security 6 ready in case this thing comes out and charges him, because he realizes, holy shit, this thing is got to be somewhere between 10 and 12 feet. And he's looking using different heights of the cave, different, little sections of the cave to get a somewhat accurate measurement of this thing. And lo and behold, at the end of all this, he gets a better guesstimate of its height to be somewhere around 15 feet in height altogether. It walks almost to the edge of the entrance to the tunnel. This isn't a cave because now the light has gone. This rumbling again has stopped, and he can see through the tunnel. He can see through this tube. He can see the other side where he just was. And now he has his pistol drawn and ready to fire. But he's waiting for this thing to charge him because he doesn't want to shoot a human, because in his mind he's thinking, this is a human. How do I go about shooting this thing? Well, it's this far away from me. It's still 40 feet away from me. It's standing at the edge of the thing. It throws this kind of like rock device at him. It's not a rock, and it's not just like, it's actually like a sharpened tool. And this giant, I guess you'd call it, has this kind of like leather, like slingshot thing, and he just launches it at James, and it hits the side of where he's at, this like lava structure thing, and smashes. That's when he's being attacked. He's like, holy shit, that just smashed this cone, this tube of, old lava that you can't smash. Like, I couldn't smash it. He couldn't smash it. The force to smash this It's almost obsidian. That's where obsidian comes from, is massive amounts of pressure, volcanic glass. And it just, whatever he threw just shatters both the tool or weapon and this lava tube thing. He shoots 2 rounds, 357, 40 feet away. He sees one shot hit this giant in the stomach area, and he missed the other shot. He said, he was trembling. I'm surprised I even hit it with one, and shooting a 357 40 feet accurately under that kind of conditions is not easy. It's easier said than done. And I'm sure there's going to be those gun guys. I shoot that every day. Brad, who I know shoots on a daily basis or semi-daily basis, he even talked to me about how difficult it is under conditions to fire a 357 accurately, especially at a distance. It gets hit and it makes this bellow. And he's now expecting it to fully charge him. But for some reason, it cannot cross over the cave or tube wall. There's like an invisible wall. That's the best way he can describe it, as he was describing to Micah and his sister and his wife. Because after this, on September 3rd, he never told a coworker or anyone else about this experience. He kept it to himself, his kids, and his wife. That's it. Seconds later, there's this rumbling noise, and this blue white light erupts, and this giant kind of steps back and is staring at him. It's not holding his wound. He's bleeding. He can see there is a color coming, like its skin color was darker, darker than my skin color. It was darker, a darker, the way James explained it to Micah, his sister, and his wife, back then was its skin was dark skinned like a Native American, not like a black man, but darker than a Caucasian. It just turns and walks into this light and is gone. Just the light vanishes, the rumbling stops. He's sitting there, catching his breath, trying to figure out, he's got to walk ahead of him because there's no roads through this park. There's like roads that you walk. It's not like I said, it's not like Yellowstone where you got the trucks and you're driving and, the park rangers there really have a different kind of job. Like camping is, there's no open fires, and such. So he knows now he's got about 45-minute to an hour walk back to where his vehicle is parked, back to where somewhat of a civilized area is. And he now knows that he is not getting back. He sat outside of this cave for a half an hour, trying to go over what he just saw. And now he's like, it's getting dark. I can either go around this tube and, have a 2.5 hour walk back to my truck, or I can go through Indian Tunnel again and shave almost 2 hours off because he's got to go up the mountain, up And it's going to be a dangerous hike back the way he'd have to avoid going through the tunnel. He goes through the tunnel, and as he's walking through, he starts to look at where this thing was. He's very, very scared, just, emotionally drained, and hand on his revolver. It's probably out. I mean, it'd be out for me. But he's looking and he sees this one ridge to where he remembered this giant to be standing next to. And the ridge where it was, he stood next to it. Him being an average height, 5'11", 6 foot, put his arm up, and his arm extends, a foot and a half, 2 feet. So that'd bring it about 8 feet. And he knew that there was another 7 feet above that to where his head would have been. That's when he realized, holy shit, this thing was not a human. It was not anything that, is supposed to exist on Earth as we know it. Native Americans in the area and, Montana, Idaho, Nevada, New Mexico all talk about giants ranging in between 12 to 15 feet in height. Sometimes, I believe, I think in Iowa or Ohio, there was like an 18-foot skeleton of a giant found. I know there's been some in eastern or western New York too, ranging around that same 15-foot mark. So he gets out of the tunnel, nothing happens, and he goes home. He shares with his wife first, and Micah is living with his mom and dad, just freshly divorced. So he then tells Micah what happened, because he's 24 years old. He's not a kid. Micah goes, when Dad told me that, he goes, I immediately called my sister and said, I think Dad lost his mind, and he told Micah told his sister, and a day later his sister was there and, said, Dad, tell me what happened. I want to hear the story. Tell me. And he proceeded to tell her. Now, he has had other experiences like Micah had stated, but after that experience, he started to notice that he was getting migraines, something that he never had before. He was not a sickly person. He very rarely got sick, and he didn't get headaches often, very, very seldom. So for the next 2 years of him working at Crater of the Moon National Park, he is anticipating or stressing out about a tourist going through Indian Tunnel or any other kind of lava tube that is accessible to the public, and something happening to them. He'd periodically go to observe the tunnel, and after that time, he had never seen anything else, any kind of activity at Indian Tunnel. But like I said, for, the last 2 years of him working there, he really thought, hey, there's going to be, some family coming up missing, or someone's going to lose a child, or something bad is going to happen. Periodically, in certain areas of the national park, he would catch some random strange lighting The park is open during the winter. There's very limited camping there, RV camping and tent camping, but it's in very limited spaces. You can't camp at the visiting center parking lot. There's just like the last couple of strange anomalies he had seen. There was like similar lighting, bluish white lighting in an area called, ironically enough, Blue Dragon Flow, and close to a place called the Great Owl Cavern. And he had said that he had been in that area with another guy and another park ranger. And it was getting to be about dusk. And it was roughly around that same time of year. Now, it gets cold out there at that time of year at night. It's, it stays warm in the summer, but in fall, it's not a pleasant place to be after the sun goes down. It's pretty chilly. The sun was starting to set. They had about a good half an hour to get back to where their vehicles had been parked, and the guy had noticed this like really bright light coming out of this Great Owl Cavern. And he said to James, someone's got a bright flashlight. Look at that shit. And instantly James said in his head, oh no, not again. They walk over and there's absolutely nothing there. The light was gone. He didn't hear a rumble this time, but they both observed this bright white bluish light. And this light was more white than the blue. And as I'm talking to Micah and documenting this, writing this stuff down, James is there. I'm on speakerphone. So he is filling in some blanks. And like I said, after the aneurysms, his speech is not as great as it should be. And his mobility, but his brain still functions great. He's still a very intelligent guy, and can remember a lot. So the last experience that he had, and it is the experience that everyone, including himself, feels like the aneurysms stemmed from this experience, was he was at a location and it was people were snowshoeing, snow camping, and there's drifts and there's toilets out there for people to camp. So it's not too snowy, but it's chilly, and it's about 6 to 7 inches of snow, and it's called Devil's Orchard. And he's out that way. There's a sidewalk area that you can walk, and he's walking the sidewalk area. A lot. It's not shoveled. It's not taken care of. It's not cleaned or groomed in the winter. All right. This is not, your run-of-the-mill national park. He gets this really off feeling. He's close to a weird kind of lava structure. It juts up, and then it's like just a hole and then a cave that goes in, and that's a lot of the bats live in one of these lava flows. But he gets this really strange, sick feeling. He's sick to his stomach. He's just got this like, God, I don't feel, something's not right. And he's just finishing his rounds, and he happens to look over, and there's another kind of vaulted area that, so you have that one tube that sticks up. It's huge. I mean, I'm not like, it's huge. You could stand on the top and look in, and you can see where the cave goes down in like that. So you'd be at the top here, and you'd look, it goes in, and it goes that way, and that's all cave. There's another opening that kind of juts like this, and that connects to that area via lava tubes. And he sees this almost bright, kind of sickly green glow. And he hears this kind of like heartbeat noise. The best way James described it, Micah said it was kind of like a heartbeat, kind of like a thumping. And James, agreed, yeah, like a thumping. And what he saw was this light, and he's looking, and he sees what he thought was, it resembled like an alligator's tail going into this light. He didn't see a body. He didn't see anything other than this tail kind of just go into the light. The thumping was getting louder. It was like a heartbeat, boom, boom, boom. And when the tail disappeared into the light kind of just pushed this, just kind of whoosh, and it was gone. Instead of the light just dissipating into the cave, it just shot outward. And it kind of hit him. He felt it physically knock him back. He's on his way to end the day, make sure that all the registries and monitor usage statistics are done, this and that. He is in his vehicle, and the last thing he remembers is having that happen, getting to his vehicle, starting his vehicle up, and turning the heat on. He doesn't remember driving. He doesn't remember anything at that point. From where he was parked, apparently he drove 5 miles and crashed his truck. That's when he had the first aneurysm, hospitalized, and then forced into retirement. And since that day, he has had 3 different aneurysms. And after putting everything together and looking into all of this, Micah was the one that really did a lot of research. His sister did as well, who we're not going to name. She remains, Micah is his real name, and James is his real name. The sister is going to remain anonymous just for her own well-being. Apparently, there was, and this kind of freaked me out. So at that EBR1, apparently Jack Parsons and Zawicki had visited that nuclear breeding reactor. Now, if you don't know who Jack Parsons is, he created Aerojet. He was a occultist. He worked or studied hand in hand with Crowley. Zwicky, I think Fritz Zwicky, was a astronomer, scientist. Now, this, interestingly enough, and this is all from Micah's research, interestingly enough, Parsons died in 1952. He was 37 years old when he died. And if you remember what I said, the EBR successfully started producing electricity in December of 1951. Parsons visited this EBR-1 for no apparent reason. Nobody knows why he was there. It's just something that had been told to Micah prior to somewhere between 1949 and 1951. And if you know anything about Parsons, supposedly him and L. Ron Hubbard tried to summon demons. A lot of those crazy scientific government figures were into occult activity. I just find it very, very strange that you've got a man who, with L. Ron Hubbard, very known, it's not a secret, tried to summon a demon. Now, he's visiting an area that is an experimental breeder reactor, one, next to a 15,000 to 2,000 year old lava field with high obsidian and high activity of the paranormal, portals, a giant, a Nephilim, some sort of reptilian tail. And then after he spots that reptilian tail, this green light just blows out. Instead of like that bluish white light where it just dissipated, this light kind of just shot out of the cave, like blew out. That's very strange and very scary. And to me, that shit's connected. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. You know, after I talked with Micah, I started to go through some older books that I have, and Pups 7, and Elizabeth Sisney, both had blessed me with some amazing books. Well, Pups gave me a bunch of Commander X, which is Bill Cooper books, and Elizabeth hit me off with some Stephen Quayle and some other really great books. But a lot of what James went through is so similar to things that I have read. But at the end of it all, your dad is near, he survived 4 aneurysms, which is a miracle in itself. But at the end, after he's retired and he's safe at home and this and that, you find out that frickin' Jack Parsons was at that EBR-1. That's how evil our government is. They are aware of these giants. They are aware of the Dogmen. They are aware of the reptilian. That last thing that he saw was probably a Draco. And some sort of just like, maybe that green light was this whatever shuttle exhaust or whatever the hell he got hit with caused this damage to his brain. You know, it's just, his wife ended up dying of cancer and she was healthy prior to. So what was he exposed to, you know? And strangely enough, I did a little more research into this area. Even though these lava tubes and such, I had read this when I was trying to get the information about the park to share with you guys. Even though they are not active, there is still hazardous air chemicals that are released. And of course, there are some areas that say, while Craters of the Moon lies in one of the country's cleanest air regions, many visitors do not see the clear vistas they expect. A haze often hangs in the air, and much of this haze is not natural. They say it's air pollution. But yeah, it's the cleanest air quality, but you've got air pollution. That's not right. And also you cannot use drones to take any kind of video or photographs in the park. Just something strange to think about. And there you have it, folks. I do hope you all enjoyed tonight's second half as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that helps this channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please, everyone, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions. Never stop searching for the truth. And God bless you all.